when we're brought to our lowest denominator, whether it's crisis, disease, diagnosis, loss, betrayal, it doesn't matter. You reach this lowest denominator where nothing is making that feeling go away. No vacation, no TV show, no friend. Nothing is making that feeling go away. And I think this is a really important moment for people because they don't feel like themselves. Nothing in their environment, in their outer world, is making this feeling go away. And this is where they start, for the first time, observing themselves, that idea of metacognition. They feel so different than the way they normally feel that they can view themselves through the eyes of someone else. This is the moment where they can all of a sudden go, oh my God, look at the way you've been thinking. You've been saying, I can't, it's too hard, I hate this person. Those thoughts have consequences. You can say, oh my God, you've been complaining, blaming, you've been a victim, you've been judging, making excuses, feeling sorry for yourself. Oh my God, look at you. Like it's that lighting the match in the dark place. And then you could say, oh my God, I live the majority of my life in hatred and anger and fear. Oh my God, that's not loving to me. But no one is going to you're not going to listen to anybody when they tell you that. You're going to bump them off, right? But this is kind of when the soul kind of give you a little nudge, like this is your moment, right? And so we see that the brain changes the most when you get beyond I can't, I'm too tired, I don't feel like it, I want to quit, this is too hard, I'll never make it. When you get beyond, like people who are curious, what's on the other side of that thought? They're stepping into the unknown. The person who says, oh my God, I want to be happy, why am I spending the majority of my day complaining? But complaining is not going to make me happy, it's going to make me unhappy. And then, oh my God, this emotion that I live by every day, emotions are just a chemical record of the past, right? So a person feels frustration because of an experience that happens or has a series of experiences that happen in their life. The stronger the emotion that we have to some experience in our life, the more altered we are inside of us. The disruption in our chemical continuity causes the brain to freeze a frame and take a snapshot or a series of snapshots, and that's called the long-term memory. So that the memory is embossed in the brain. So if it happens a few times, and then you review the event, you keep remembering the event, you're producing the same chemistry in the brain and body as if the event was occurring. And the body's so objective, it's the unconscious mind, that it does not know the difference between the real-life experience that's creating that emotion and the emotion that person's fabricating by memory alone. To the body, it's exactly the same. So the body's reliving the trauma 50 to 100 times a day. So it's a thought and a feeling, it's an image and an emotion, or a memory and emotion. It's a stimulus and response, and you're conditioning the body to become the mind of that emotion. And so now the body, the servant, is now the master. So the body has learned it, and it's automatic. And so you're sweeping your environment just to look for something to actually cause you to feel frustrated. So the hormones of stress become highly addictive. And it's entirely possible that people use the problems and conditions in their life to reaffirm their addiction to frustration, to reaffirm their addiction to that emotion. So they don't know they're doing that consciously, but they're becoming addicted to the life they don't even like. Living in stress is living in survival, right? And stress is when your brain and body are knocked out of homeostasis. Stress response is what the body innately does to return itself back to order, okay? Well, all biological organisms can tolerate short-term stress. A zebra gets chased by the lion, it outruns the lion, it goes back to grazing and eating, and it goes back into balance, right? Okay, so all organisms can do that. You cut off on the freeway, you jam on the brakes, and then you're over it, right? For most people. But when you turn on the stress response and you can't turn it off, now you're headed for disease, because no organism can live in emergency mode for that extended period of time. Now, human beings, because of the size of the frontal lobe, we can turn on the stress response just by thought alone. That's the problem. Now,
that's the trick.
Yeah. So if you're forecasting some future worst case scenario based on the past, and you're actually imagining that future unfolding, your body, as the objective mind, begins to feel the emotion of that future before it happens. And now you're conditioning your body to become the mind of anxiety, the mind of fear, right? And again, thought and a feeling, image, emotion, stimulus, response. The body's being conditioned into fear. Okay, so So now you say to that person, why are you this way? And they'll say, I am this way because of these events that have happened to me 10 years ago. What they're really saying is I had an event that's changed me biologically, and I have not been able to change since. Okay, so if you can turn on the stress response just by thought alone, and those chemicals, hormones of stress are addictive, the arousal, you can become addicted to your own thoughts, and this is why it's hard to change. Well, if the long-term effects of the hormones of stress push the genetic buttons and create disease, that's a fact, and you can turn on the stress response just by thought alone, your thoughts can make you sick. All right, no, that's the ultimate mind-body connection. So when you tell a person that and they go, oh my God, then you ask them, if your thoughts can make you sick, is it possible that your thoughts can make you well? And so we did a study where we just took people and we said, trade frustration, trade impatience, trade resentment for a heart-centered emotion. Let's hook you up to an HRV and let's have you practice. Get really good at feeling appreciation, gratitude, kindness, care. Let's get you in that state. Is it possible then that you can upregulate the proteins for your immune system and downregulate the secretion of cortisol? And the amount of immunoglobulin A, which is a really important, natural flu shot for the body, went up 50% in the participants. So the body actually is believing it's living in an environment that's nurturing, right? And so it could be that immediate. Now, 50 minutes a day, twice a day, or 3 times a day for 3 days. That's it. That's how fast it can happen. Now, the caveat behind this is that just like breaking any addiction, you're going to go through a lot of withdrawals because the body's going to be craving the chemical, right? So we've discovered, again, when the person is sitting in a meditation and they're coming up against their frustration, they're coming up against their resentment, they're coming up against their impatience, instead of saying, I can't meditate, I'm too busy, I'm getting on my cell phone, I have too many things to do. Nobody else in the herd or the flock or the tribe, just everybody sitting, right? So the person, we're not asking them to white knuckle it, we're giving them something to do. We're teaching them how to lower the volume to that emotion, settle the body back down as the mind, and teach them what to do with that. So the act of doing that, breaking that, the inhibition process, breaking the stimulus and response, the body's craving 20 years or 10 years of frustration. It starts to send images to the brain like, think of the time in your life that, and it's trying to reproduce that chemical. So this takes an enormous amount of energy, an enormous amount of awareness to be able to free the body from the chains of the past. And yet, once you learn how to do it, it's tedious in the beginning. If the person truly can get beyond their addiction to that emotion, the absence of that emotional addiction is called joy. The body's no longer tormented. So the side effect of that is there's a complete change in the body's physiology. You just need to see a person or a circumstance, have a thought, and seamlessly you're feeling the emotion from your past, and you're behaving like you're in your past, and you're believing everything that goes along with your past. I think the majority of time, people are on alert. They're in high beta brainwave states. They're vigilant. They're ready. When we're living in stress and we're living in survival, all of our attention is on our environment. That's where the danger is. Mm-hmm. All of our attention is on our body because we're getting the rush of chemistry and adrenaline, and all of our attention is on time. How much time is we got to make this go away, right? And so when you break free from the state of survival, which pretty much is about 70% of the time for most people, I think when you're living in survival, I think you'll always perceive it as dangerous place. Mm-hmm. But I think the opposite side of that, and this is kind of what we've discovered, I think when you live in something other than survival, you live in a state of creation. And I think a state of creation is when energy naturally moves into the heart, and the heart is the creative center. When you're living in stress and you're living in survival, your brain is completely incoherent because you're trying to control and predict everyone and everything in your life. So stress is created by the loss of control, the perception that something's going to get worse or something that you can't predict, right? So the alarm system switches on. So the next thing you start doing is you try to control and predict everything in your life. Well, every person, every object, everything, every place is mapped neurologically in your brain. You've got a neurological network for your wife, for your husband, for your kids, for your dog, for where you live, where you work, your phone, So as we shift our attention to each one of these different elements, like a lightning storm in the clouds, in that aroused high beta state, the different compartments of the brain begin to modulate and they begin to fire out of order. If you measure that on the brain, it's waves that are out of order and they cancel each other out, and the brain is incoherent, we're incoherent. Same thing happens in the heart. You're stepping on the gas and you're stepping on the brake. You're on a Zoom meeting, someone's talking, and you're thinking about, oh my God, your emotional response is not the best. But you're not running, you're not fighting, you're not hiding, you're sitting there, right? So you're stepping on the gas and the brake, and the heart starts beating very, very much out of order, becomes very incoherent. Same thing, the energy in the heart goes down. You can't trust, it's not a time to communicate, you know the story. So we've discovered that where you place your attention is where you place your energy. We teach people then, if you can place your attention on your heart, slow your breathing down, you slow your brainwaves down. And teach them how to work with their body and convert from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system and get their body in that state. It takes practice. It takes a lot of work. In the beginning, you're working with the animal, and the animal's juiced up and it's ready to go, and you got to teach it that the threat, the danger is over, and it's not very trusting in the beginning. So slow your breathing down, slow your brainwaves down, convert over, put your attention on your heart, and let's practice feeling some heart-centered, some elevated emotions. If a person can sustain that state, we'll see their heart get very coherent. When it gets coherent, energy builds, and if they can sustain it, something really beautiful happens. It's almost like the heart informs the brain that the trauma is over, and it resets the baseline for the past event where the emotion is attached to. And we've seen this numerous times. It tells the amygdala, it's over, like the trauma's over, and then all of a sudden the body resets and the brain resets, and the person all of a sudden, like grabbing a big sheet and going like this, they go right out of beta, high beta, and they go right into alpha, coherent alpha. And the heart's telling the brain, get creative. The other thing we discovered, Mike, is that when you're pressed like that, we tend to overfocus. We tend to narrow our focus on the cause of the problem. Like any of us who have been under stress know that, for the most part, you're obsessing, you're ruminating, you're over-focused on something. And we discovered that when you do that, you actually make your brain worse 100% of the time, because you're analyzing your life within that disturbing emotion. That emotion is a record of the past, and you're driving it into higher and higher beta, right? So we thought, oh my God, what if we do the opposite? What if we go from this kind of narrow focus on everything physical, everything material, everything known, to broadening and opening our focus and putting it on nothing? In the act of sensing space, we discovered when you're sensing, you're not analyzing and you're not thinking. In the neocortex is the analytical mind. So as you're sensing space, and you're no longer analyzing and thinking, you're no longer activating those different neurological networks in the brain, and all of a sudden, your brain goes from beta to alpha, but not any kind of alpha. Those different compartments of the brain that have been modulated and compartmentalized, they begin to unify, they begin to synchronize, and what syncs in the brain links in the brain, right? And that's coherence. So now the brain starts getting more orderly, and you start feeling more like yourself. So the breathing is a great way to get the body to convert from sympathetic to parasympathetic, but the open and the broadened focus and sensing nothing in space is actually what allows us to get beyond our analytical mind, and what separates our conscious mind from our subconscious mind is our analytical mind. Now you're opening the door and getting into the operating system just by closing your eyes and focusing on nothing. You can slip past the analytical mind, and when you're in alpha, you know this, you tend to see more in images and pictures, you're more creative, right? And then you can train a person to actually know the different brainwave states. And my definition of theta is when your body's resting in a light sleep and you're awake. And that's when the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is wide open. This is the most suggestible state of the brain. It's a hypnotic state. If a person can sit and practice this, we discovered that the formula is relaxed and awake. Relaxed, the more relaxed you get in your heart, the more energy goes to the brain.